Welcome to a very special session of our Insight series today. As I said, slightly different format for today on a Friday at 10 o'clock. But thank you all for taking the time to join us, because this certainly is a special piece of communication we wanted to share with you today. I think we can all agree that this has been a real watershed moment for us here in Victoria this week. Probably on Monday afternoon, when the Premier stood up and made the announcement about metropolitan Melbourne reopening and from the 8th of November, thank goodness that ring of steel coming down, I think we breathed a collective sigh of relief across our state. And indeed, I know certainly if you've been like us in Metro Melbourne and in lockdown for 111 days, I think it was at that point, it was a big moment for us. But, and it's been great to watch over the last few days, everybody out and about and enjoying our city and our state again. So that's been marvellous. But of course, we do know that here in Melbourne in particular, we do have the challenge of building the confidence of people to reconnect with our city. How do we encourage people to, as the slogan says, let's Melbourne again? And a big congratulations, I have to say, to Clemenger BBDO, who has really taken that challenge on and created a campaign that's designed specifically to get people to re-engage with our amazing city, to have the confidence, the energy, the enthusiasm and the passion to get back out and enjoy the city in such a robust way, the way we're famous for here in Melbourne. So we're really pleased today that we have the Managing Director of Clemenger's with us, Simon Lamplow. Thank you for joining us today to share this exciting campaign with us. But Clems, I think for those of you who don't know, Clemenger's, sorry, I say Clems because I've worked with these guys for quite a long time, so it's a term of endearment, but Clemenger's has actually been an advertising institution here in Melbourne, having been in operation for over 75 years. So they're passionate lovers of our great city, and what they've done is remarkable in bringing together some of their biggest clients, Melbourne-based clients, to actually invest in bringing a campaign to life that will encourage us all to get out and let's Melbourne again. So we're really thrilled to have Simon here today to talk about the campaign, but most importantly, how we can actually use the assets of the campaign, which they're generously making available to everyone, so that we can encourage, all of our customers, all of our contacts to actually Melbourne again. So before we get started, as we normally do, I go through a few housekeeping rules. Of course, as you know by now, your microphones and cameras have been muted and turned off. We love hearing from you and love seeing you, but for the purposes of this process, we've shut the cameras and microphones off. I will ask you to put your questions again through the Q&A box. Remember, don't use the chat box. Use the Q&A box, because it's just easier to maintain and facilitate those questions through one channel. And this session today is being recorded. Again, it's been great that Simon's allowed us to record it, so we'll be able to share this after the fact for our colleagues who weren't able to join today. I also would like to, before we get started, just thank a few of our partners and sponsors. Of course, we're bringing you this event today in partnership with the Accommodation Association. Adroit Insurance has been a great partner of ours for a long time, and their continued support, all of these partners, their continued support allow us to deliver these programs to you and to actually bring to life all of the programs and initiatives that VTIC's been delivering over the last several months through this crisis period. So a big thanks and shout out to the City of Melbourne, of course Clemenger BBDO for joining with us today to share this information. Our partners in the State Government of Victoria, who've been incredibly generous in supporting us through this process to bring all these programs to the industry, our friends at the Department of Transport, and also, of course, our friends and colleagues at Victoria University. I'd like to now just briefly turn over to Dean Long. Dean is the CEO of the Accommodation Association of Australia, just to say a few words of welcome to his members who are on the session today as well. Over to you, Dean.
Wonderful. Thanks, Felicia. Great to be with everybody today. What an amazing week for Melbourne, an amazing week for Victoria to get things opened again. We won't harp on it, but I think Felicia and I, if we were having one more conversation about the Ring of Steel, 25 kilometres, get the damn thing open, I think we'd have nothing left. And I note there's other association partners on the call. It's been a united effort by every association in Victoria to get this back open to get people back employed to do that. And the one great thing about the presentation today is a lot of the time in the past, we've been reliant on government departments to run these type of campaigns and to do these type of activities. And the great thing about having Simon and Clemenger on the path here is that we've got great private sector and public sector engagement on this project to drive the outcomes we're looking for. And that's really critical, because if we don't have that collaboration, those partnerships, and the type of creative prowess that a firm only like Clemenger can bring, we can't do it as well as what we want to be able to. So I'm really excited about today's presentation. I know that the accommodation providers all the way through Melbourne will be able to rally behind this. So let's Melbourne again. Let's get the place open. Melbourne is a fantastic city, one of the places that I think everybody wants to travel to at some point. And I tell you what, I know we're looking forward to, as accommodation providers, to getting that happening, looking forward to getting some events up and going again. Simon, I've seen a sneak peek of the work, mate. Absolutely incredible to you and your team. Just an amazing output. I think it's really going to resonate with the public, our members, and Felicia, well done again. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you, Dean. And we'll turn over to Simon now, and the show is yours, Simon. Welcome.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. I appreciate having the time to speak to you all and share this campaign, share the work. The intent of this campaign was for it to be a generous initiative. It's owned by no one really. It's owned by a group of businesses and brands who proudly love this city. We're one of them, and we want everyone and anyone to get involved. So I'll talk through how all of you can do that towards the end of this presentation. As Felicia said, we are a proudly Melbourne-based agency. We've been in the city for over 75 years, and it was actually our founder, Peter Clemenger, who is now approaching his early 90s, who got on the phone some 2 or 3 months ago and urged us to put our creative thinking hats on and work out how, when it came time to reopen, how we could, I guess, restart Melbourne's economy, how we could give people the tools and the confidence and I guess the excitement to get back out there and spend once more, to go shopping, to go traveling, to eat and drink and do all the things that we'd missed. And whilst I think we've seen, I mean, obviously lockdown has now ended, and in the last couple of days, we've seen a surge of enthusiasm. We know from our colleagues in Sydney, particularly, that it has taken some time there, and frankly, it's still taking time for people to feel confident to get back to doing what they once did. And certainly in a business environment, we have a sister office up in Sydney. They've really struggled to get people to feel confident to come back into that office environment, come back to work, and get back to some sense of normality. So we feel like, or we felt it was important to pull together a campaign, a construct that would accelerate that somewhat. And that's really the ambition of what I'm going to share with you today. I guess the only other thing to say before I take you through the work is that we very quickly realised upon Peter's urging, when we sat down and thought about what we might do and how we might do it, this wasn't something we could do alone. We realised quickly we needed a group of partners, and so the way this project has worked is we've brought together 2 distinct groups. We've brought together a group of Melbourne's arguably proudest brands, businesses that are based here in the city and want to see the city do well. And on the other side, we've also brought together a collection, a conglomerate, if you like, of Melbourne's biggest media owners. So the likes of Channel 7, News Limited through Herald Sun, Austereo, Southern Cross Austereo, JC&Co, Facebook, etc. And it's the power of those 2 collectives that has really enabled us to deliver what I'm about to share. So without further ado, I get a thumbs up from Felicia that you can see my screen? Great. So the campaign, unsurprisingly, is letsmelbourneagain.com. I urge you to visit that website after this presentation. It has some further details on there. It has a toolkit that you can download. I'll share more info on that toolkit in a sec. And I'm also going to try and play a video, which never works brilliantly well over Zoom calls. So if that does fail spectacularly, then it's also available on letsmelbourneagain.com for you to see. These are a kind of a collection of campaign images that we've created to launch this initiative. Brilliantly, these images were all created gratis, pro bono. We pulled together a collection of Melbourne's filmmakers, photographers, content creators. Each of them took the brief to take an image of what they were most excited about doing once more. So things like, simple acts like when lockdown ends, the idea of polishing your work shoes to get back out there again, putting on your favorite earrings for a night out, doing your makeup to go for dinner, pressing your work shirt for the first time, going out and buying a coffee rather than making one for yourself. All those simple things that we take for granted but just haven't been able to do for so long, as Felicia said, over 111 days. So the campaign imagery is made by Melburnians for Melbourne, which we really love the idea of. These are, I talked about creating two collectives. These are the brands that have proudly come together behind this initiative. They are some of Melbourne's biggest Melbourne-based brands, and it was interesting. They actually needed very little persuasion. When we first reached out and had these conversations, the brands that understood their DNA, felt connected to the city, and immediately understood the impact they could make should they choose to. It was remarkable how fast they came on board, and I'll share some of the asks that we made of them. It wasn't a small ask. They've each contributed hard cash. They've each contributed $50,000 to the campaign, and they've also each taken on the ask to create some form of act or event or promotion to get Melburnians back into the city. So it wasn't a small ask, but they all have jumped at it, which is wonderful. This is what we set out to achieve. Essentially, this is how the campaign works. So we wanted to collect a collection of 20 plus proud Melbourne-based businesses, and we asked each of them to contribute 50K. The reason why we wanted that number is we wanted to raise $1 million. And then through our media partners, Channel 7, News Limited, Southern Cross Austereo, Facebook, JC&Co, they've all agreed to 4x that contribution. So we've ended up, thanks to their generosity, with a $4 million media campaign running in Melbourne only over a 4-week period. It launched on Monday, and hopefully you'll see it come to life across a range of channels. I'll share some of the assets in a sec. Each founding business, so each one of those brands, was then also asked to create an individual act or activation or event to bring Let's Melbourne Again to life, to encourage people back into the city, to encourage people to start spending again. And we also provided them with a toolkit, which I'll share with you too, which gives them a suite of Let's Melbourne Again assets to activate in their own channels and allow them to merchandise their involvement. We're also making that toolkit publicly available to small businesses, yourselves, local media, anyone who wants to rally behind the cause. And in social channels, I'll share some examples, but we're also encouraging Melburnians to own the campaign. As they get back out there and do the things they've missed, we want them to capture that footage, share it with their friends, hashtag Let's Melbourne Again, and build I guess a community collective, a community momentum behind this initiative to get people feeling like there is a wave of support and that they too should get out there and make the most of our newfound liberties. I'm going to try playing this film. So this is the launch film. Again, this was created pro bono. It was done by people for the love of their city. It was all shot during lockdown. And it's also narrated and voiced by Briggs, the musician. So you might recognize his voice when you hear it. I'll press play and hopefully this works.
Let's get ready to walk the Bluestones again. Let's curse Pump Road. Let's ride the Frankston line. Let's dodge swooping Maggies. Let's cross the inglorious river. Let's get ready to chuck hook turns in the rain. Let's order obnoxious coffees. Let's queue for dimmies. Let's avoid outbound on the Tulla. Let's wear the blackest black. Let's Gertrude. Let's Bay. Let's Burke. Let's Hoddle. Let's Melbourne again. An initiative to reinvigorate Melbourne for those who love this city.
So that's the launch film that's running across Channel 7 and basically Insta, Facebook in paid social. It's also being supported by a range of images, which I mentioned previously, that were captured during lockdown. These are running across print, outdoor. I'll click on a page. You can see here we timed our launch perfectly. We got a little lucky, I have to admit, that on the Monday of our launch, obviously, Melbourne came out of lockdown, and that following Tuesday, we had a number of major press inserts. We had this wrap across the Herald Sun, the headline "Freedom" accompanied with our Let's Melbourne Again campaign. We're running across JC2Co's formats, so you'll see it across tram stops, bus stops, large format outdoor all around the city and suburbs. We've got rock posters, as you can see here, and we've also got, we're calling them Instagram walls. So you'll see these illustrated images popping up at various locations around the city, and we're encouraging people to take photos of themselves in front of these art installations. Again, hashtag Let's Melbourne Again, and get involved. I have to say we got an incredible response when we launched. This is a really badly put together slide that gives you a sense of some of the media footage that we got on day one. There was huge interest. We were on breakfast TV. We made the 4 p.m., 6 p.m. news on 7. A host of radio stations covered our launch and continue to do so. We made a number of online news channels too. There's a piece there, top right in the Herald Sun, as and when we launched. So lots of positivity and momentum behind this. And as each of the brands undertakes their acts, we have commitments from Channel 7 and the Herald Sun that they will also cover each of those. So they'll give editorial coverage on the nightly news and via the Herald Sun to ensure that each of our founder brands gets their moment in the sun as and when their act launches. So that's a good segue to talk, I guess, about those brand acts. You know, what are some of these brands doing? What have they come up with in terms of ways to deliver offers or discounts or experiences that get Melburnians back into the city? There's a real range. There are acts that are sort of massive in scale and ones that are much smaller. So we've got things like a special preview shows being set up at the NGV for the triennial exhibition. We've got Amy, who've offered free parking for the month of November at Amy Stadium, and they're running a shuttle bus from that stadium into the city. And ANZ are going to be sponsoring buskers in the CBD, so trying to bring back some colour and movement and music and life. Importantly, each act is unique to that respective brand and I guess gives a sense of their DNA and what makes them unique and hopefully gives them a unique contribution to the city. Some further examples, this is probably my personal favourite. Maya brilliantly are changing their heritage signs on their Burke Street building from Maya to Melb in support of the campaign. Australia Post have actually created a bespoke stamp for Let's Melbourne Again, and are also running a postmark across any letter or parcel that's sent for the next 2 months and goes through their Dandenong sorting office. Every single one will be postmarked with Let's Melbourne Again. PwC are offering a small business hub, so they're trying to support, I guess, small businesses or Melbourne-based entrepreneurs, and they're offering free advice. So they're going to be based at the State Library. It's going to happen late November. You'll be able to go in and meet with any of their partners or their professional services team and get advice from anything from tax advice to HR or legal advice, general consulting advice, etc. So a pretty incredible gift from them. CUB at the other end of the spectrum are giving away free beer. So I believe on the 14th of November, CUB are giving a free keg of Carbon Draft to every one of their 520 plus Melbourne and broader Melbourne, Greater Melbourne venues. It's essentially an initiative to get the landlords and publicans back on their feet. So a free keg for the landlords to sell and keep the proceeds and profits from. And then we're also partnering with Officeworks. Officeworks are kindly offering a free printing service for any small business or any business, frankly, that wants to rally behind Let's Melbourne Again. So if you go to the Officeworks website in the next week, you'll be able to see a range of assets and inventory that you can walk into any Officeworks store, and whether it's a laminate or a flyer or a poster or a menu, you can add Let's Melbourne Again to it and they'll print it for you for free. So that's an overview of the campaign. Hopefully that makes sense. In a nutshell, we've launched with a 4 week communications piece, four week long communications piece. You've seen how that looks and feels. You'll see it hopefully running across multiple media outlets in the coming weeks. We launched on Monday, and we've got 3 weeks to go from next Monday. Alongside that, we've then got our 20 plus brands, each of whom are delivering a brand act or an event or a promotion or a sponsorship of some shape or form. What we need from here, and why I'm so pleased to be talking to all of you today, is we would love your support to help push our launch communications through your own channels. If you're a supporter of the campaign, as I said, you can go to letsmelbourneagain.com.au. sorry, .com actually, important, it's not .au, that's a typo there, it's .com. Download a toolkit and use that toolkit for your own businesses. You'll be able to use those assets across any medium you see fit, and support and promote the campaign. And then if you so wish, as a final step, we would also love you to think about creating your own activations, promotions, or events. These can be new initiatives, or you may have existing initiatives that you're looking to get to market, and you're welcome to rebrand those under the Let's Melbourne Again banner. So the part of the toolkit will explain to you how to use our logo lockup. You'll be able to download the logo there on letsmelbourneagain.com and use the lockup across any medium that you choose. It helps also, I guess, give you advice on how to scale different portrait solutions or landscape solutions. Our ambition is that Let's Melbourne Again is simply a frame. So it just sits over whatever asset you would normally create. So your brand should still remain part of this communication, your typeface, your look and feel. We're just simply a window, if you like, a frame that sits on top of it, and hopefully allows you to leverage the awareness and support that we're generating, in turn leverage that for your own business. It's really important if you're using our work on Insta, or if you're running any of your own initiatives on Insta, please, please, please hashtag Let's Melbourne Again. We've got a social team on the case who anyone who uses that hashtag, we repost on our own Insta channel, and we try and give them as much support as we can. So please hashtag Let's Melbourne Again, and we will respond in kind. And then finally, if you go to or if you follow us on Instagram, follow Let's Melbourne Again or @Let's Melbourne Again, you'll be able to use our Instagram filter. So if you're creating social content of your own and you want to wrap it in our vehicle, go to our Instagram handle. You'll be able to see how to download and leverage our Insta filter, and it's there for you to use. Hopefully that's a benefit in the coming weeks and months. So that's us, that's the campaign. I really appreciate your time in listening to that. We'd love as many of you as possible to get involved. I want to also extend the offer. We also were doing this pro bono. There's no monetary gain for us in this campaign. It's done for the love of the city. If you want advice or support, if you want creative thinking, if you have ideas that you're kicking around and you'd like an agency to give them a bit of thought, or give them some finessing or polishing, within reason, we're here to help. Please feel free to reach out. I'm sure Felicia can give you my details. We'd love to support you in bringing this to life for your own uses and purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. That's first of all so generous of you to make that offer, but also so exciting to see what you've done. I just love this. It really does, I think, connect to the heart and soul of everything that is Melbourne. So you've done a great job, and you know, all kudos to you and to the 20 odd partners that have stepped up to participate in this campaign. I mean, it truly does show the love of people for this city, and the fact that we want to see it come back. There were a couple of questions while you were speaking. I actually jotted one down myself, and then there were a couple of questions that came in similarly. Of course, with the offer being proposed by PwC, which really is incredibly attractive and very generous. First of all, how do people find details about this? But then there was another question that came through that said, is it an offer that's only being extended to people in metropolitan Melbourne or businesses in Metro Melbourne? And do they have to validate or show proof that their business is located there? Just some ideas on it. You may not know that, and maybe it's...
No, I do.
Okay, great.
No, I do. Yeah, that's easy. I guess the best way to stay informed as to when these offers are rolling out is to follow our Insta handle. So on @Let's Melbourne Again, we will be pushing and broadcasting each offer as it launches, making sure that people are aware of it. We've also, if you go to letsmelbourneagain.com, our website, you'll see there's a section there for all our brand acts. And as and when each brand act is finalized and dates confirmed, we'll be posting that there. So that's the best way to stay informed. In terms of who can access it, I guess it depends on the offer. From a PwC perspective, there's no need to validate where you're from, whether you're inner Melbourne, outer Melbourne, or beyond. It's really just a case of you need to, I guess, look out for the launch date and then make yourself available in the CBD as and when. My understanding is they're going to be running it for a week. So I think they're currently looking at the first week of December. But as I say, that hasn't been confirmed. They're just trying to work out diaries and I guess footfall. But no, there's no need to prove you're from Melbourne. I think Officeworks is a slightly different case. It will only be running in their Metro Melbourne stores. So you just need to choose the right store to go to get the free printing.
Yeah, but we all know from this lockdown that Metro Melbourne goes very far.
It does.
Just ask our friends in the Yarra Valley and in the Mornington Peninsula. And to a degree, I was even surprised yesterday talking with one of our members, Gumbaya World. I didn't even realize that he's actually in metropolitan Melbourne. I really thought that they were regional. So you'd be amazed at how far the Metro Melbourne boundary actually stretches. So that's absolutely fantastic. I've had a couple of comments coming through as well, Simon, just in terms of people loving it. Yes, I'm going to get right behind it, be downloading the assets, I'll be using it. So really fantastic. We've got a few more questions that have just come through here. Noting this is a campaign for Greater Melbourne, so all Melbourne businesses can leverage this brand. City and suburbs all welcome. Question. It's kind of a statement, not a question. Oh, it was from Clive. So Clive's actually just probably letting us know. Hello, Clive Dwyer. Lovely to have you on the line. And of course, the Committee for Melbourne has been a major partner in this whole program as well. And in fact, the Accommodation Association and ourselves were actually introduced to this largely through Committee for Melbourne. So well done, Clive, and lovely to have you on the line with us today. Yeah, lots of comments more than, which is great, Simon. People are just saying so fantastic.
There's one question about place-based marketing to promote local neighbourhoods and precincts. Absolutely, you're welcome. This isn't just a CBD initiative. There are some brands like City of Melbourne who are a founding partner who are focused on the CBD, but absolutely it's about activating local suburbs and broader, wider Metro Melbourne too. So yeah, please feel free.
Yeah, that's a great question from Richard Ponsford. Hello, Richard, again, such a dear friend of ours. And of course, we know that you want to talk all about Western Melbourne and Melbourne's West. And I'm quite sure, as Simon just said, all good, absolutely fabulous. Key thing is we want everybody using this as much as possible. There was another question I saw. Just bear with me, guys. Just trying to scroll. There's so many comments. I'm just trying to decipher the comments from the questions. Geez. Every time I get ready to ask you something, another one just pops up. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second, guys. Apologies. They're coming in thick and fast. Can you confirm timing? Would December activations still be okay? Is there some sort of lifeline to this whole, or timeline, I should say, to the campaign?
There's not. I mean, the majority of our founder brands are activating by December, so as in end of December. So no, an activation in December is absolutely fine. The latest activation is currently going to be Tennis Australia, so they're going to activate around the Australian Open. So that's not till early Jan. But I think the majority of brands, and frankly, to leverage the awareness and goodwill behind this, you probably want to be activating by end of December. Yes.
Yeah. Good question here around, and I know, Simon, this was a bit at the heart of what you're doing as well. What do you think it's going to take? This is probably more of a question to you personally. What do you think is it going to take to get workers to come back into the city again?
It's really tough. And as I mentioned in Sydney, our officers are struggling to get people back. I think it's going to need a mandate from Daniel Andrews. He's obviously in no way encouraging workers back into the office at this point, but I think as and when it is possible, he's going to need to make it very clear that it's also expected, because as businesses, we need to be able to, I guess, impress upon our own employees the importance of coming back in. We can't do that until he gives a definitive answer.
Yeah, and there was an interesting discussion yesterday in a board meeting that I sit in on with the City of Melbourne, and they're doing an enormous amount of work, and I know we've got folks on the line here from City of Melbourne today as well, and to be commended in the effort that they're putting into this whole process of reinvigorating the city, but most importantly, getting people to come back into the city, including our workers. And it was really interesting listening, and you mentioned, Simon, about the troubles in getting people to come back. Sydney at the moment, or sorry, it wasn't Simon, it was you, Dean, as well, but coming back into the city from in Sydney, I think they're sitting at about 35% of people that have come back into the city. That's all. And even in a capital city like Perth, which has been kind of the poster child or the gold standard for, no coronavirus. Of course, they keep their borders locked, so they should stay safe for a long time, but we won't go into the borders not being open. However, having said that, they still only have 65% or 60% of their workers actually back in the city as well. So there is this whole issue of the confidence level and people feeling comfortable again with getting on public transport, around this whole area of coming back into workspaces with lots of people. So, there is a long road to hoe here in building that confidence. But, again, all kudos to the City of Melbourne, because they're doing an amazing amount of work at the moment to try and power through that issue and do everything that they can to reinvigorate the city.
And Felicia, if I could just add to that for
yes.
2 seconds. I mean, one of the things we've learned in the cities that have been opened, the biggest issue that we've got is that a lot of the decisions on workplace health and safety are not being made at the local domestic level. They're being made by international head office that are in Europe, that are going into a second or third wave, or in the US. So you've got large employers that typically take up a lot of office space, a large movement of people in and out of the CBDs that we're not seeing. So I think these type of campaigns, I totally agree. The work the City of Melbourne have done, we're a national organisation, so we get to see what all the different city, the main councils and all the cities are doing. The City of Melbourne are light years ahead of any other council in this space in trying to get people activated. But it is going to be the big issue, is these large employers, these large multinationals that have a heap of people in and out of the cities. They're looking at really January, February, March next year at when they're actually going to really reopen things, which is going to be challenging for us, because we know for a vibrant tourism community, we need a vibrant, commercial office space to create the city we know and love. And it's the same across the country. So it will be a really challenging time, but it's interesting. Melbourne is the first one to actually have a campaign like this up and going, and that will help, because it'll get people out and going again. I know in Sydney, it's been patchwork. It hasn't really been able to generate this level of unity. But I think the one thing Melbourne has is no other city's gone through the pain that Melbourne has. So there's going to be this desire, hey, let's get out, let's do things right. So I think that'll really help.
But I think, we can't underestimate the love affair that Melburnians have with their city. And when I say Melburnians, I mean Greater Melbourne. There is this enormous passion for the city and a desire to be part of the city that I don't think necessarily exists in a whole lot of other places as well. So, there's great potential here. A couple of good questions that have come in while we're talking, Simon. In terms of, can we extend the idea of, let's Melbourne again, let's Richmond again? Is that possible?
I'm not giving permission for that, but if you want to take it upon yourself, then feel free. Yeah, my creative teams will be twitching somewhere, but sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, I wouldn't see any reason why maybe, if you did it as something on Twitter, that you could use the hashtag to localize. But I think in terms of being true to a brand as a an ex-marketer in my lifetime, probably in the font style and in all the things that constitute the brand, maybe not taking that sort of license, but certainly I would think within Twitter messages and things like that, you could hashtag it. Yeah. Does that sit more comfortably with you, Simon?
I think people will be happy with that. Yes.
There's also a good question here from Kat. We need regional Victorians to visit Melbourne. How will the campaign be promoted in regional Victoria? Really good question.
That's a great question. I have to admit that there are currently no plans, so potentially we need to pick that up and have a conversation offline. We're thinking about the other way around, so getting Melburnians to visit regional Victoria when they can. But yeah, that's a really good question that we haven't given any thought to whatsoever. So I'll take that on notice.
And again, I mean, not to beleaguer the point of the border closures, but without borders being open, Melbourne is going to need regional Victorians to travel into Melbourne. So it actually is a really big component of the mix of travel that needs to be actioned in the short term until, state premiers decide it's safe to open up their borders, which, some have done, but very few really, when you think about it. So it has really stymied our recovery, because a lot of the recovery we were projecting early on was predicated on borders being open and free domestic travel occurring. And that's certainly not the case. So, really, really good point there. There was another question here from Alicia. Can we use this into our interstate channels and networks as well? I would think we want that out there. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's not just for Melburnians, but I mean, obviously, once things open up and we're able to invite our interstate friends and colleagues back again, I think it'd be a great message. And they'll get it. That's what I love. They'll get it because they talk like that. I mean, I know a lot of my friends up in Sydney, I'm dying to come and do Melbourne again. So, that's the language people have been using. So I think it's, it's really, really terrific. Clive's, this is very true. You mentioned Simon before. Peter Clemenger is in his 90s, and I do remember in the very early days when I first got off of the boat in the early 90s and working at Tourism Victoria back then. You know, Peter Clemenger came in, and the creation of the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival was really his vision and his dream. And, you know, look, all these decades on, it's just gone from strength to strength. So just really a statement here, you know, what's he going to come up with next in his 90s?
He's an amazing man. He still comes into work. Well, he was still coming to the office 3 days a week. We've got 3 client car parks at the top of our building, and he drives in his Mercedes and parks across all 3 and gets out and comes in for his coffee, and don't know what he does, sits at his desk for the morning and then goes home.
Well, clearly though, he's still got some great ideas to come up with something like I mean, you guys came up with Let's Melbourne Again, but
it was his
he gave you the
cattle prod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. Lots more comments about such a great initiative, and really about bringing the community together again. I think that's something we've missed desperately here. You know, that sense of community has been annihilated, so the chance to bring it back is wonderful. There was another similar one about what is the timeline or the length of the campaign beyond December to provide those with the lockdown hangover anxiety. That's a good point there, lockdown hangover anxiety. I like that. To pass and to have the confidence to travel.
So we don't go beyond December, but I know there are Tourism Victoria plans and there are City of Melbourne plans to pick up where we leave off in January onwards. So yeah. I'm probably not in a position to share any of that, but it's certainly in the offing.
And I think that's a really good point, Simon, to talk about the chronology of this, because we've gone through this in the work that we've done with the City of Melbourne, that the kickoff of all of this was around Let's Melbourne Again, but then there's some great work coming out from the city around, as you would do, the retail activity of December and January, and then the launch of the city's new campaign early in the new year. And then, of course, when Visit Victoria has the ability to be able to start advertising again, that will actually sit over the top of all of this as a consistent message. So there'll be some, there'll be tactical streams or linear streams of what will be happening, whether it's through the City of Melbourne or the stuff that you're doing and we're presenting today. But ultimately, whatever campaign Visit Victoria creates and implements will sit over the top of all of this and provide a really consistent theme. So it's almost like all of this is punctuating some of those great messages. So, there will be a really concerted and solid communication piece for Melbourne and Victoria over the next many months, which is pretty exciting. I know we've all been hanging out for some good news, so it is really nice to see something like this. Really interesting question. Oh, sorry. Yep, Dean.
Please add one extra thing to that. The marketing is incredible. The creative is awesome. The work that's coming down the pipeline is going to set the scene. It's going to be on us as a people and as an industry to deliver COVID-safe experiences. We've seen across the country, it's up to the operators to create the environment that rebuilds confidence. We saw in Queensland this morning, a pub was closed because they didn't follow COVID protocols. It's going to be something which, if people walk past your restaurant, walk past your hotel, walk past your attraction, and they see people cleaning, they see active markers on the ground for social distancing, they see, even if you don't need a COVID marshal, an employee there enforcing those distances. Those physical presences are going to be critically important for the next 3, 6, and probably 12 months for people to have confidence to return to a sense of normal. There'll be a portion of the community that will get up and go straight away, and there's going to be a portion of the community that are going to wait and see, and that wait and see is where the majority of the money is going to be. But that's why these demand campaigns are so important. But we as an industry then now need to deliver COVID-safe experiences. Make sure you've got your check-ins, make sure they're digital, make sure you've got everything you can to tell to your consumers that you're safe. And if we do that together, we'll be able to get out of this thing so much quicker than if we don't.
Yeah, really, really good comments, Dean. And we saw that last night even on the news that, patrons are actually dobbing in people that they're perceiving not to be doing the right thing. Really interesting point here from Renee. Lovely comments, Renee. The theatre of cleaning is going to be really important to instill consumer confidence. The reason that struck me is because I know from, again, some of the work we've done with the City of Melbourne, the comment, I think it was actually Clive Scott that raised this, that I think in Disneyland or Disney World, they've actually turned their cleaning processes and their sanitization processes, as you can only do in Disney World, into theatre. So it's become part of the entertainment. But at the same time, it's building the confidence, but also showing customers that as an institution, they're absolutely committed to providing a safe environment for their customers. So really good comment, Renee. Question here from Alicia. Really be nice to see what's the AFL going to do with this? Have you spoken to them yet, Simon?
Yeah, they're weighing up a couple of options. One option is they obviously own Marvel Stadium, so they're thinking about throwing open the doors to Marvel Stadium for everyone who's missed the footy season to come and just have a kick on the hallowed turf.
That'd be nice.
In a socially distant, manner that will be ticketed, etc. The other thought is there's obviously a whole lot of kids who missed out on Auskick this year, so they're considering running a series of special Auskick clinics with coaches and players coming down and helping out. So they're still working that through, but yeah, I hope they do something awesome.
Nice, really nice. Well, I think we've worked our way through all the questions. So, look, it's been a really fantastic opportunity to speak with you, Simon, and
Pleasure.
So grateful that you would share all of this with us. But also, I think, there's a lot of brands who've obviously contributed financially and in an activation sense, which they own this brand and it is theirs. But that's probably all the more reason, I guess, that we're so grateful that you've shared this with us so early on and that you're allowing businesses so quickly, within literally days of running the campaign or launching the campaign, I should say, to actually connect to all of these assets and to use them in our own way. So incredibly generous of everyone that's been involved. Alicia wants to know, why not a tattoo? I think I draw the line on getting a Let's Melbourne again. I love the city, but no, don't think so.
No, the generosity is absolutely in the spirit of the campaign. You only need to look at, we've also got two banks who are founding partners, ANZ and NAB, and on any given day they do whatever they could to be competitive against each other, but they both signed up and are co-branding this, and that's the spirit of the initiative. They want everyone to be able to benefit from it, not just themselves.
It's beautiful. And I think my favorite, I have to say, is Myer changing to Melb.
Yes.
I love it. I just think that's the best ever. And people wouldn't be aware, but I think, Simon, you mentioned there's been actually heritage issues that are wrapped up in the ability to do so. So,
yeah.
Just the kind of level of coordination and people coming to the party because we are so passionate about seeing our city come back again. So can I just thank both. First of all, Dean, thank you so much for joining us and doing this with us today. And a big shout out as well to Michelle King, because I know she's helped in a big way in getting your members involved as well today. And Simon, I can't thank you enough. Clemengers has actually been so generous with us, and we do quite a bit of work with Paul Rhys-Jones. And in fact, Paul actually kicked off our very first Insight series that we ever did. And it was when you launched your Australia Now and all of the work that you've been doing around the sentiment surveys nationally. Yeah. Paul actually, he was the first cab off the rank in our first ever Insight series, dating back to, I think it was probably April when we did this. So I just want to say thank you so much, because as VTIC, we're also incredibly grateful for the generosity that your agency has shown in supporting our industry. So
no worries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thanks everyone for being on the call today. It's been marvelous to have some good news to share for a change. This has been quite exhilarating, so we haven't had the chance to be happy for a while. And just, Dane, if you'd like to just say a couple of words of thanks and farewell as well.
Oh, look, I think you summed it up perfectly, Felicia. Simon, amazing job. You and your team have been incredible. To Clive in particular, City of Melbourne, great job. And I think also just to call out to everybody on this call, I think the fact that we've only had 4 people drop off from the beginning on a webinar that, sometimes you see that, amazing. So Simon, testament to the creative, testament to the discussion. We're all really excited, and let's reopen COVID safe, and let's deliver on what we've said we've been able to deliver on and prove that we can do what we said we were going to do, which is keep people employed, get the economy going again, and let's make Melbourne Melbourne again. That's
right. Let's all Melbourne again. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thanks again, guys. So grateful. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.